Good morning, everyone. I'm Madhavi, and I run a child development center here in Hyderabad. It's called Ananya Child Development Center. I started this about 13, 14 years ago now, and that's because of my son who happens to have autism. So I had to leave the country to help him to get the help that he needed. And once I came back to India, I realized that there was not much change in the status of affairs here in Hyderabad. I had a corporate job, so I had to quit and re educate myself and start a center. My son now is 21 years old. He still has autism and he's into music. He pursues Hindustani classical music. And since autism is a pervasive developmental disorder, Varun will need always support from our side. So we do a lot of things to help children like Varun who have autism. And our center primarily focuses on children with autism, but nowadays we are getting children with other developmental delays too. So we are taking care of other developmental delays, neurological disorders, genetic disorders, premature babies, low birth weight babies, all kinds of special needs children might have. So that's in brief about my background. And coming back to our presentation today, I thought, since you all are coming from technology background, a lot of times, see, I also have started a technology company in partnership with uh, two other partners who have a technology background. So we are developing an app to monitor and track children's developmental delays from from birth till their teenage. And also we are working on multiple other technological projects. So when I talk to people from technology background, they're extremely good at technology, but they don't understand what they have signed up for, you know. So that they read on the internet and try to understand developmental delays. Trying to understand developmental delays and special needs by reading on the internet is like I trying to code, reading about how to code on Google. That doesn't work, so I thought today I'll give you a quick overview of what kind of developmental delays are there in children and what are the different types of special needs that are commonly found, and how probably technology, you can think about how you can help these delays and special needs, neurological disorders. Okay, so let me start with the first and foremost one, that is uh, premature babies. Usually, most of the challenges start uh, if a child is premature, born premature. Okay, usually the gestation period is about 30. Full gestation period is about 36 weeks, and if a child is born a few weeks before 36 weeks, maybe a week or so should be fine. But if it is a couple of weeks, maybe 32 weeks or even 28 weeks, that means the child's development is not fully complete, and the child is born without the development being complete. So what happens is there is going to be some challenge or the other throughout the child's development because the child is not born with development. So these are called high risk premature babies. Okay, so usually in a developed country, in developed countries like the US and in the UK, these people, I mean the parents of these little kids, they go to doctors on a regular basis, and there is a standard protocol of tracking their development and progress periodically. And the moment they find the delays are addressed immediately without any wasting of time. Whereas in India, most of the times, if the children are born developmentally premature, there is no such standard protocol. If the parents go, they go. If the parents don't go, they don't go. And if the parents are from a rural background and they don't have an access to developmental pediatrician or a pediatrician also, how are they going to take the children to to a doctor to see if the child is developing typically, or the developmental age is appropriate. So that's one level of challenge. That's one place where children will need help, tracking children's premature children's development. Second is, If the child is premature, most likely the child is also going to be low birth weight, because the child has not completed the developmental, what do you say, the whole developmental cycle, and the child is born a few weeks before development. That means the child is also going to be low birth weight, and there will be in NICU. The child will be kept in NICU for monitoring and other tracking purposes, physical health, for tracking physical health, and for any other health conditions the child is born with. So these kids, premature, low birth weight, and NICU babies, are very, very high risk babies. And these are the children who might have developmental delays, special needs, or any other neurological disorders because of the delay. Most of the times, it is because of the delay. And the second category of children is during the birthing process, the child might have faced lack of might not have gotten enough oxygen while the birthing is happening. In the birth canal, if the child is not getting enough oxygen, the child's brain can get damaged because of lack of oxygen for a couple of seconds or a minute or something like that. So even if it is a few seconds, the child's brain is so vulnerable. The child's brain can get very much damaged, and that we can lead to conditions like cerebral palsy or any other brain damaged conditions. So these are the second category of children who might need lifelong help and support, and definitely technology can help in these category of children as well. So the third category, or the second category, would be children with genetic disorders. The most common genetic disorder we find every day, everywhere we go, is Down syndrome. That is one of the most common. It's also called trisomy, where the children have one extra chromosome. 23rd 23rd chromosome is extra for them. That is an extra chromosome. So it's called trisomy. And these children will have again lot of developmental delays. Sometimes, most of the times, intellectual issues, intellectual disability, and also motor developmental issues, and other comorbidities like lung issues, and very low immunity and other issues. So this is the second cat. I'm just using Down syndrome because there are so many genetic disorders. We don't need to get into details, but there are lots and lots of genetic disorders in children. But well, one of the most common is Down syndrome. So genetic disorders is one space where we can help children. I know a person who runs an NGO for what is that, platelet, I forgot. I mean, I can share the details with you later. But these are the kind of highly specialized care these kids need. I think that's where technology can come into picture, where children need to be monitored and tracked on a frequent basis. I remember I attended a presentation in T-Hub by one of the IITians who found out how to monitor babies in NICU. One nurse, because the nurse is to babies ratio in NICU in India is very not so great, because there are lots of children in NICU, and there's only one or two nurses, and children cannot ask for help. We need to constantly monitor children because they are not going to say anything. They are already sick children in NICU. So this student in IIT has found out a particular monitoring system which can be clipped on to the toe of the baby, and all these babies are connected to a centralized monitor where at the nursing station, where the nurse can monitor like body temperature, vital, sitting at one place, not running from bed to bed, or whatever it's called, NICU thing, from one place to the other place. So I thought it was such a wonderful thing, even if there is very, very low nursing staff available in a government hospital, all the babies can be monitored by that staff sitting at one place. Like especially when the babies are cold, they can't tell, and they can actually have many health issues. If the body temperature falls, the child will need immediate attention. The vitals are falling, the child will need immediate attention. Imagine that one simple solution. She has won many awards for that. I don't remember the product name, but I thought that was an amazing product, and it will save so many children's lives. So that's one area where definitely, that's a medical related area. And since I'm working in the rehab and also in the neurodevelopmental disorders area, there is so much scope for technology to step in and help. So you can think about, you know, what ideas you have about how to help children with uh, genetic disorders. The third kind of delays that we most commonly see in children is speech and language delays. Now, nowadays, speech and language has become one of the most common delays that we find in schools. Sometimes I can attribute, I feel that children are so much now addicted to screens. They're not talking to people. They would like to just sit at one place and look at a screen like we all do nowadays, you know. So we just, when children sit at when children sit at one place and just look at the screen, their language is going to be delayed, because when a child is growing up, the child is supposed to interact with the parents, interact with the people in the surroundings, in at home helpers, could be grandparents, could be uncles, aunts, or other children in the neighborhood, in their apartments. But what's happening is now, nowadays parents are buying them an iPad, a smartphone, or a tab, where the child will sit and look at it whole day, play with it whole day, thereby delaying their social communication, speech and language delays you find most often in children nowadays. So I think the apps are so mesmerizing for little children that they just don't feel like talking to others. So I don't know how you can help, probably that we need apps for speech and language therapists who can use apps which are going to help children to develop speech and language age appropriately. Of course, with adult supervision. I don't believe in giving children gadgets or phones or smartphones or tablets without adult supervision. I always tell adults, if you want to use technology to help your child, make sure that you're sitting next to the child and helping the child use it and collaborating with the child while they're using it. Not just leave the phone or the tab with the child and not help the child or not monitor the child. Nowadays, a lot of nuclear families, I see, are using technology as a babysitting, as a pacifier, or as a basic babysitter, in the name of, oh, I work from home, so I don't have time. My husband is not at home, so I have to finish all the housework, so I can't take care of the child, so I give the phone while I finish all the work. All that I don't think is an excuse for leaving a child with phone alone or a tablet alone. So that's one area where we can help parents to see how to meaningfully engage up with adult supervision. Again, with adult supervision, capitals, bold, double quotes, everything highlighted, italics. Okay, so with adult supervision, so apps in speech and language development too, not just reading and writing. I see dime a dozen apps for reading, spelling and things like that. Of course, that they will develop anyway once they have speech. If there is no speech, what's the point if a child knows how to spell and how to read without comprehension? So we need to ensure that children can have enough comprehension, good comprehension, and then only the higher order thinking skills will develop. The next commonly found delay in children is motor developmental delays. Children who have gross motor developmental delay, children who have a fine motor developmental delay, children who have other conditions like cerebral palsy, where primarily the delay is in motor issues. So I see nowadays a lot of robotics being used for therapy. Robotics assisted equipment is coming where the child is supported when the therapy is happening. Okay, so I think there's already a lot of work happening in this motor developmental space and robotics. So you can check out what are the current developments happening in that and see where the gap is and try to fill it in. I think in India, what we need is low cost, scalable technology solutions for any of this rehab kind of space. Most of the solutions that we have currently are imported or from other countries, and they're extremely expensive. We have to pay in dollars to get that kind of assistive technologies for our children. Parents usually complain, ma'am, it's $200, it's $300. Yes, some of the augmentative speech devices that our children use in our center are from the US. I think there is one augmentative speech device that is developed, it's by one of the alumnus of IIT Chennai. It's called Avaz. When compared to international speech and language augmentative devices, I can't say it matches to the quality of the product. So we need to have the quality, at the same time we need to have the cost taken care of. So I don't know, you guys have to think about how to, marry both and get the kind of results that we are looking for. Because when we ask parents to get a, what is it called, get a uh, an augmentative device, and I tell them that there is Avas and there is Proloquo and there are other things. Usually, when they go and use the trial versions, they will definitely like apps like Proloquo, which are much better than compared to, and more intuitive to use when compared to Avas. So, I wanted you to think about apps that can help children speak. Like some of the children with autism probably will never be verbal whole life, and they'll be non-verbal all through their life. That means they will probably have to depend upon an augmentative speech device. So how can you come up with an augmentative speech device that will help children to communicate or young adults to communicate? Because most of the behavior problems, most of the problems that our children face are because they don't have communication. So how are we going to help children communicate using an app that is world class and that children can afford? And in India, there's another challenge, another layer of challenge. We need this app to work in regional languages. Most of the apps that we buy from abroad are English apps, which only speak English. Ours, of course, has some Indian languages. So we need to solve that puzzle as well. How do we make sure that the app can help children from different regions of India? That the app should be able to speak English, Telugu, Hindi, and other Indian languages. So that's another challenge that we face in India. So I think you have a wonderful opportunity there to develop apps, speech and language apps, speech therapy apps, augmentative speech and language devices. So motor devices, I already told you that robotics is a space where children nowadays, I see a lot of videos I've seen where there are, even in Hyderabad, we have seen some centers buying these robotics equipments where physiotherapy is done with the support of robots. So I don't know how you guys can help, whether you have the ability, your team has the ability, no idea. But I think that's a wonderful space. But these are all imported, highly expensive things. But can we make them less expensive and affordable for Indian population? Another, I mean, these are early childhood. Whatever I told you till now are in the early childhood space. So once a child goes to grade 1, 0 to 6 years, actually, that those were 0 to 6 years. Of course, motor developmental delays will continue to adulthood. Speech and language delays will continue to adulthood. But when a child reaches grade 1, they have different levels of problems. That is, reading problem like dyslexia. If a child has dyslexia, they will have reading difficulty. Most of the children with dyslexia will have many other coexisting difficulties. Like in Tare Zameen Par, if you have seen Amir Khan's movie Tare Zameen Par, you have seen this child who has reading difficulty. Okay, also happens to have writing difficulty, has inattention, cannot focus, cannot have attention and concentration. So multiple challenges children with learning disabilities will face. These are called specific learning disabilities. And if you want to know how do we diagnose these difficulties, we follow a manual called Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders, DSM-5. I think it should be available for free download for you to go through various pediatric developmental disorders. You need to actually understand how do we categorize this, so that at least that part is available for you to understand. Okay. And so that's reading difficulty. So any app that will help reading easy for children, would be great. I think there are plenty of apps already. You can look for spaces where apps are not, I think some of these apps are not made for children with dyslexia, they are made for all children. And children with this dyslexia are also expected to use the same app to learn reading. I feel that if a child is able to learn reading like other children, then I don't think it will be dyslexia. So a child with dyslexia will have a different type of challenges when compared to children with typically developing children. That is, children with dyslexia will have visual motor integration issues, spatial orientation issues. So an app that actually trains children in visual motor integration and spatial orientation before they start teaching reading. I think that is more important. I think a lot of apps forget that. App developers forget that. They straight away jump into teaching them how to read. I think there is a huge scope for apps in the space of visual motor integration and spatial orientation. So I would love to see apps, Indian apps, which are low cost, again, affordable apps, where our children will be able to use apps to develop their visual motor skills and also their spatial orientation skills, because almost 100% of children with dyslexia will have more visual motor integration difficulties and spatial orientation difficulties. Another level of difficulties that our children with specific learning difficulties face is mathematics difficulties, not able to get the number concept, So this condition is called dyscalculia. So children with dyscalculia will again have difficulty in understanding numbers, understanding how numbers work, how numbers add up, all the signs like, plus, minus, multiplication symbol, division symbol, equal to symbol. Again, I think that this is directly related to the visual motor integration challenges that they face. So once we address the basic problem of visual motor integration, I think the number should fall in place, is what my experience says. So first, when a child comes to our center, we don't jump into teaching 1, 2, 3, 4 for them. We straight away start working on their. We have many visual motor assessments that we do at our center. So we do the visual motor integration assessments, and there's definitely, when a child has mathematics difficulty, when you do the visual motor assessment, you will see that the child has visual motor integration issues. So first and foremost, our occupational therapist starts working on visual motor integration for the child. Once the visual motor integration is, improving, then you introduce numbers, because then numbers will start making sense, symbols will start making sense, everything else will start making sense. Otherwise, when you are not addressing the root cause and trying to address the bigger problem of, doing mental math and, teaching them 1, 2, 3, and then sending them to Vedic mathematics classes or Kumon classes, I don't think it's going to help the child, because the basic development, neurological development has some challenge. And if that challenge is addressed, that delay is addressed, the rest should fall in place. So huge scope for us to work on visual motor integration using technology.
There are a few questions in the chat box.
Oh, I'm not looking at the chat. Can we take the questions? Because I left a couple of minutes in the end towards the questions. I'm almost at the end of the presentation. Then we interact with the students. Is it all right?
Yes, it's fine.
Yeah, that's fine, right? Okay. So the last one of the there are two more is dysgraphia. Children who have difficulty in writing. Again, imagine if a child has visual motor integration issue and the child has to copy from a vertical board to a horizontal notebook. There is going to be a lot of effort that is involved. See, for us who don't have any such visual motor integration issues, copying from a board to a notebook is not a challenge. But for a child who has a visual motor issue, they just can't comprehend how to take information from a vertical board to a horizontal notebook. So they will have handwriting issues. Okay. So again, visual motor issues at play. So we can do a lot of work in this space. Okay. And the next one is vestibular issues or balance issues. Again, I think robotics related activities where we are working on their vestibular sense and helping children improve their vestibular sense will be amazing. These are sensory issues. These are called sensory issues. Inattention, and inattention is directly linked to vestibular issue. If a child, there are two types of hyperactivity that we can have. One type of hyperactivity is when I'm constantly moving from one place to another place. Or if a 3-year-old, 5-year-old is running around constantly, is not able to sit even for 5 minutes in one place, try to finish one simple task, that's called hyperactivity. Okay. The second type of hyperactivity is I'm able to sit at one place, but I'm not able to concentrate. A lot of us have this, we can't concentrate on what is happening in the classroom, what other person is speaking. So that's another type of hyperactivity, which is where we don't move from place to place, but we are not able to concentrate on one thing. Or it's also called inattention. Okay. Earlier, there were two categories of ADHD. It's also called ADHD. ADHD, it was called ADD, where the child is able to sit but not able to concentrate. It is called attention deficit disorder. The second category is called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. where the child is not able to sit and not able to concentrate also, and very impulsive in the classroom or at home, both. So with the new DSM-5, there is no ADD. They have removed the ADD category. There is only ADHD, and they have put everything under one. So ADHD, we call either when we diagnose a child with ADHD inattentive type, ADHD hyperactive type. Now the terminology has changed, but the condition still remains. Children can also have a lot of auditory processing issues. That is, the child is not able to process the auditory sounds. They are not deaf. Okay, I want to make it very clear that I'm not talking about hearing impairment. I'm talking about children who can hear but cannot process the sounds correctly. In the sense, if a teacher is giving them 2-step or 3-step instructions, the child is only able to process 1-step instruction. They're not able to follow the rest of the 2. So either they remember the first step of the instruction, or they remember the last step of the instruction. So they're skipping the rest of the 2 instructions. Imagine most of our Indian classrooms are auditory. If a child has auditory processing issues, the child won't be able to sit in the class and survive the demands of the classroom. So that's another type of challenge that children can face. And there's huge scope for technology. In fact, we use technology in our own center, but we import all the equipment from other countries. So I can share more about that if anybody wants to know the kind of equipment that we use, and I'll be very happy to collaborate with you in developing something like that in India too. And sensory processing, generally sensory processing, that is tactile issues, difficulty, challenges in smell, sight, vision, hearing, and taste. A lot of children will have all these other sensory processing issues between 0 to 7 years, and some children can have them even after 7 years. So it will probably take a whole session for me to get into sensory processing, so I'm not touching. Definitely auditory processing is one place where you can use technology. Visual processing is one place where you can use technology, and even touch, definitely you can use technology. I don't know how much smell and taste can be worked upon using technology, no idea. Can definitely be explored and found out, because these are the areas I think there is a huge scope for technology to intervene and help. So so preterm low birth weight baby, genetic abnormalities, speech delay, motor developmental delay, reading difficulties, dyslexia, mathematic difficulties, dyscalculia, writing difficulties, dysgraphia, spatial orientation and body geography difficulties, sensory processing difficulties, and attention and hyperactivity in children. So all these are the areas where in India we have a very, very high scope for developing apps and for technology to intervene and provide low cost, scalable technology solutions. Any questions? Now I'm ready to take questions.
Yes, ma'am. There are a few questions in the chat box.
Yeah.
Akhila, do you want to go ahead? Akhila?
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
Actually, if no one else is going to ask the questions from the chat box, I would like to ask my question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. So when I came across these problem statements, the first thing states that AI-based games to provide interactive and personalized learning experience.
Yeah.
So by this thing, actually, the thing which AI we are talking about, if we want to implement the real AI, which is like machine learning, we need a lot of data. I need like a lot of data to understand each individual separately. Like everyone has their own way of learning things, and everyone has a way like of understanding things differently. So for that, we need some personalized experience for each of the user. So we need a lot of data, and to get that data, we either have to have access to a library where we have the data already collected from people who have already experienced such things before, or either we have to increase our user base, like the people who are accessing our app. We have to first scale that. We have to get the experience. We have to get the feedback from them, and then we have to they should go hand in hand, right, ma'am? Because if I just make an AI, it will be like if-else statement. Because if I don't implement something like this, it won't have n dimensions to go. It will have only those dimensions in which I have already coded, in which I have already like defined. I can honestly I can do like 5 things. I can divide the user bases into 10 or 20. That is defined, right, ma'am? Like I can only divide that into some 20 categories where the user can have their own way of expressing things. But if we really want each user to have a personalized experience, we need to go with machine learning or something like that. But for that, we don't really have the access to such data, or if this thing is completely new to me. Speaking of myself, I have never like gone through such things, so I don't really know like how to access this kind of information from people who are already gone through this kind of thing. So what can be work around for this? Like how can I like I guess
think, see, right now I'll tell you, we are developing an app to track children's development. Again, no two children's development is same. We face the same problem. So what we did was, I mean, we are of course in T-Hub and also we are in Triple IT, both the incubators, and we have a mentor, Dr. Radha, and she is the one who's guiding us in validating our app. Because who's going to buy your app if it is not validated and if it's not working, isn't it?
Exactly.
So so for us, the first round we had collected data for 300 children. So we have been to schools.
Exactly. That is what I'm saying, ma'am. I need some data like that. I need some data from where I can actually understand how people feel when they have such situation in their life. So maybe that will be really useful to like gain some insights on what we can do with the app. So
definitely, what you need to do is you shouldn't jump and develop a full-fledged app straight away. I think you guys have to start with a small pilot and get some 300, 400, whatever is feasible for that particular project. I think you need to have a supervisor who helps you validate that study. It's more like a study to see if it's even required, And
ma'am, actually, I have one thing in my mind. Like maybe we can get some archives from the internet where I don't know if I'm sure that I'll get this kind of information from there, but maybe we can
where
try.
Where are you planning to get? Where do you expect this data to be available?
I don't know exactly the name of that one, but there is some a medical archive where I got this data about people having either cancer or something like that. I guess they have these archives of medical conditions.
Yeah. So
So
those might
maybe
have. Your name is
Sam.
Sam. Those people might medical data is probably more easy to fetch and also available because cancer and all are so very well researched.
Exactly.
In India, developmental delays are not really well researched.
Yes, ma'am.
And also children's data is extremely sensitive. So nobody is going to share children's data so easily with you.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
parents don't give consent for people to access their children's data. So we also are going through similar challenges, But
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think to begin with, to start in a smaller way, I started working with smaller schools. We are actually training and doing free education to their teachers, thereby getting the consent from the school management and the parents to get the children's assessment data. Because unless until I get children's assessment data,
We will not be able to proceed further.
there is no way we can proceed further. In developmental apps for developmental delays, the data is critical. So
Yes.
once we have 300 children's data and I validate my study and scientifically, like a
Yes.
research, like a thesis, based on that, I can approach more schools and more places where children's data is available. I can approach government of Telangana to give me access to government schools, and actually we can give away the app for literally for peanuts. So that
Yes.
initially our job is to collect data to help children. The first
Ma'am,
step is
also, I have a doubt, ma'am. Actually, I'm an indie developer. I already made lots of apps. Like say, I made 60 to 70 apps commercially, but I never are we making this app like a paid app or is it free? Like I
this
want
will
to
be a this will be a there will be a very small fee because
I have a doubt.
huh
I'm not interfering, but I just want to tell one thing, ma'am. What from my experience, what I have known is like always giving the app for free is always much better because first,
but
we need to escalate the process. We need to get the data from people, and then we can
I
keep
get it.
some options, some features like premium features, which can be like bought.
Yeah.
That should be a better.
But initially it's all free. right now we are not charging anything from anybody. We are still in data collection phase and validation phase. And because of Corona, since the schools are closed, we had to stop. We had to stop data collection because we don't have access to schools anymore. Well, we can take this offline, Sam. If you have my number, you can call me.
Sure, ma'am.
And
Sure.
actually, I wanted to offer internships, virtual internships, and internships to students who
Yes,
are
ma'am.
interested in understanding. See, this half an hour presentation is not even touching the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. Exactly. I got that, ma'am.
This won't. I mean, I just literally did a words
Brief.
review from a very, very, very high level. So
Yes, ma'am.
those who are interested in developing apps for children and developmental delays and special needs, you need to intern in centers like ours at least for a couple of months to understand what you're signing up for. You
Exactly.
know,
Yes, ma'am.
just reading on the internet and trying to. I've seen many people who come with apps who try to sell apps in my center, and I don't know how they even came up with that idea because that's illogical for me. That's not usable in a center,
Yes, ma'am.
because they're sitting in an isolated lab and trying to develop something. I think you need to experience it firsthand, come and do the internship with us, experience it, and then we're happy to collaborate in development with you.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think there's so much scope for
Uh,
development. Sam,
also,
please get in touch with me. Yeah.
I want to tell one more thing, ma'am. Speaking
Yeah.
of myself, I don't know, for myself, I want to say the period which is given to us, the 30-day. I don't know how much period we have for this app development, but the app
Mhm.
development is not the real thing which is like requiring that much time. It's okay. It can be done in like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
But the thing
Yeah.
which is the basic thing, like, what I'm thinking, like if you can take this a bit longer, like even after after this thing is over, even after this, I don't know what it is, but even after this thing is over, if we can still keep up with this, then we can do one thing, ma'am. Like we will
Yeah.
make one app, a simple app, and we will send this. Like we can make this public on Google Play or
Yeah.
somewhere, and
Yeah.
then we can use it to like mine data from people. Like
Yes.
it can be used as a, like it can be like phase one where we first get the data from children, like how they think. Like we can make some
Yeah.
interactive games, simple
Yeah.
games like board games or something simple like
Yeah.
IQ games, and we can
Yeah.
understand their level of thinking, like how they think, how they
Yes.
respond to some question, how they
Yes.
really like think of like even simple things, ma'am, like differentiating between colors can be even used to understand the brain of some student. Like
Yeah.
we can use that, so we can do like it should be taken in, I as far as I know, I think like it should be taken in form of phases. Like we
Yeah.
can make phase one where we just collect data, because that is the most important thing. The more
Yes.
data we have, the more like efficient we will be in making this project.
Yes, absolutely. I think data is the key for AI and ML. And
Exactly.
without data, none of your apps are validated. So,
Yes, ma'am.
well, that's like a dead end for us. So,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, the first and foremost step is to have an app and also collect data and validate the data. Not just have the data,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
validate it and see that it is working and it's helping
Yes.
children. Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
ma'am, we have more questions.
Yes.
Saim, if you have any further questions, you can take ma'am's contact number
Yeah.
and contact her from there.
Yeah.
More questions in the chat box. We have one from Malvika. She says, we are at a point where most learning has become digital. How do you see teaching and consequently learning changing in the future, not just for children with special needs, but overall?
I'm a very old school person. I think that children till certain age should not be overexposed to technology, and if there is a need to use technology for children, there always has to be adult supervision. Technology and children is a bad combination, without adult supervision, because they'll get addicted. Most of the children who come to my center are showing the signs of screen addiction. They just cannot do anything without the screen. Even while they're going to the potty, they want the screen. While eating, they want the screen. While bathing, they want the screen. It's become literally an addiction for children. I think technology can be used very judiciously to help children. We don't I'm not against technology. I myself am developing technology based solutions because India needs scalable solutions which can reach different parts of India. But I'm extra cautious as to what I say and what I tell parents how it should be used. So I'm not against that. I see that technology can have a very huge positive impact, keeping this in mind that it cannot be just given to children to play. It won't work without adult supervision. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. We have another question from Siddhant. He says, ma'am, can you tell us about the severity of all the different development
Yeah.
issues?
All developmental delays could be mild, moderate, or severe. Our app should be able to address all the three: mild, moderate, and severe. So once you develop, that's what I'm telling. If I give you answers like this, it really doesn't make sense. If you come and intern with a center, not just our center, any nearby center to you, wherever you are, go and volunteer in that center. See how children are struggling. How does a child with mild challenges struggle? How does a child with moderate challenges struggle? And what are the struggles faced by a child with severe challenges? That's when you understand what I'm talking, because just by reading mild, moderate, and severe, you won't be able to understand the meaning of those mild, moderate, because no two mild children are same, no two moderate children are same, and no two severe children are same. They're all different. Even within their same mild diagnosis of mild, moderate, and severe, they are different. So you need to make sure that you interact with children and understand. That's my take on it. Yeah.
Another question
Yeah.
is from Avinash. He asks, technologies are
Yeah, go
usually
ahead.
alright. Technologies are usually developed by people from tech background, at least in the scope of this
Particular challenge, what resources would you suggest these technology based
to
students
go through
go
to be
through?
better equipped to tackle.
So, is there a challenge or something that's going on and they need to develop something for this? Is that?
Yes, it's using AI and ML for cognitive
Okay, okay, fine.
learning.
So, what resources would you suggest these technology based students to go through? Avinash, why don't you get back in touch with me? See, these are very specific questions. I need to understand a little more. Just take my number. My number. If you didn't take my number, I'm just going to put it up again. Wait a second, so that you can call me and talk to me. I'll give you the information that you need, because these are very specific, and I need to talk to you your area of interest and stuff, and then you can probably uh, develop that, because there's huge scope. I want your time to be well spent. So please
Sure,
call me
ma'am.
on this number, WhatsApp
Thank
me. I'm happy to help. No problem. In fact, there'll be so many children, and we can actually use it with children, the app that you develop, then just develop for some challenge and people are not using it. In our centers, we have more than 100 children. So at least if it can initially help 100 children, that's amazing.
Sure, ma'am. Thanks a lot. I'll
Yeah.
get back to you.
Yeah, sure.
Ma'am, we have a question from our faculty advisor,
Yeah.
Patri Sriyasa. He asks, can we attempt to address the agitated young minds perturbed by media through apps or AI? And by perturbed, he means violent thinking, impatience, and lack of concentration.
That's exactly what I'm telling. Being adults, we are still not able to stop using the screens continuously from the time we wake up in the morning till we go to bed. We know that the blue light is interfering with our sleep. We know that we have attention and concentration challenges. I think technology is like a double-edged sword. If you use it for helping yourself, that's fantastic. If not, yes, it is going to see. It's the same part of the brain that actually works for addiction. Whether you are addicted to technology, addicted to cocaine, addicted to sugar, addicted to junk food, it's the same part of the brain. So you need to be extra careful, because the bright young minds nowadays, I see, I mean, I have 21, 22-year old children myself. I see my son always holding his smartphone when he's having lunch, when he's having dinner. We are sitting right in front of him. He doesn't bother to talk to us. And I keep on telling him that, why don't you put your phone away for 10 minutes? It's like they're going to miss something very, very important if the phone is kept away. It's like it's extremely difficult, times for young people, because technology is extremely distracting. The phone's beeping, the lights blinking all the time. On my phone, all the notifications are off all the time except the phone ringing sound. All the lights are off, so that I don't want to keep looking at my phone constantly when I'm working. It's so distracting. If there's a message sound coming in my phone, or if there is a WhatsApp message that's coming, Facebook notifications, oh my god, it's a nightmare. I think young people have to be extra cautious about staying away from technology for some time in a day, so that their brain can get into some kind of creative work. Constant use of technology is detrimental for sure. And we're getting
Yes,
cases of technology addiction again. Yeah.
Okay, we have another question. This one is from Adarsh.
Yeah, there's Piyusha also. She's
Okay,
asking
he
if
asked.
it's possible to make an app that is interactive enough to help with. Yes, it is possible. I have seen some apps again in the US, US based apps which are made in the US. Definitely, there's a scope for uh, developing apps in speech and speech. Yes, there is. Again, if you want some ideas, get in touch with us. A
Right.
lot of children start speaking very late and they have difficulty in speaking words clearly. Is this also an issue related to fine motor? No, this is not a fine motor skills. Of course, if there is a clarity issue, there is a problem with oral motor, apparatus, or there is a placement issue where the tongue is placed in the mouth, and it's called articulation and placement issues in children. So it is partly motor issue but not fine motor. Fine motor is usually with this we call usually finger related things are called fine motor issues. It could be motor issue. Yes, it is a partly a motor issue. It is also what happens in children when I work on fine motor and gross motor issues, and the speech also improves. So there's all the motor issues are related. They're not in isolation. Yes, in a way it could be a fine motor issue as well, because when a child has articulation issue there will be other coexisting issues as well. So yeah, in a way it's yes, and also partly it's could just be oral motor. So a speech therapist will be able to tell you if it is an overall motor issue or just an oral motor issue. So yeah. Is anybody asking a question? I can't hear.
Adarsh, you're not audible.
Hello.
Yeah, it's faint. Your voice is faint.
Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, better now than before.
Yes, so I'm asking that like, are there apps or like you were talking? So like, is it there for that oral motor skills?
No, I can't hear you, others. There's a lot of disturbance in your voice. You can again, you can get in touch with me, Adarsh, if you think there's anything specific to app related, or you can type the message. That's probably better. Yeah.
Let's take a few more questions from the audience. If anyone has any, you can unmute yourself and ask, ma'am. Patri, wait. So, would you like to say anything? Do you have anything to add, sir? Patri, sir.
Yeah. Good morning, and then I think yeah, it's still morning. So I am Dr. Srihar Rao, ma'am. I'm in charge of Innovation and Incubation Center, and on behalf of the Innovation Center and then NIT Warangal, we are thankful for your time and no participating in the first webinar of our Innovation Challenge, which is thrown in this quarter, and. We wish that we work together towards this noble cause. Thank you very
Sure.
much.
Thank you, Andu. Thank you so much. And thank you all. I'm so pleased to see that all the young minds of NIT are trying to do some some projects which are going to help children.
Yeah.
So I'm always available for any help that you guys need. Please do call me, message me on WhatsApp. I'm happy to help. Thank you, guys. Shall we call
With,
it a day then?
so much for joining, and thank you so much for putting up your questions. And thank you, ma'am, for your very enlightening speech. I'm sure we.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, guys. Bye.